How's it going, everybody? Lampini here again, and today we are going to be reviewing Week 4 of the 2025 NFL season. So Week 3 had its fair share of surprises. We're going to kick right up into it with my predictions there. You can see I was 9-7 with my predictions. I actually got a good amount of games wrong. How was I to know that the Browns and the Panthers were going to upset the Packers and Falcons? Texans, we're going to talk about them. Very concerning showing by them. The Cowboys lost out to the Bears, which I thought was very surprising. Turns out the Cowboys are a worse team than the Bears. The Lions beat the Ravens. That was kind of a toss-up game. And the Bengals, serious concern as they got crushed by the Vikings. For the season, I'm 34 of 14, so I'm still doing well in my predictions. I've still guessed 20 more games right than I've guessed wrong. So let's hope that this prediction video is going to be a bit better and I can get my winning percentage a bit higher. All right, guys, kicking things off with Thursday Night Football, we had the Seattle Seahawks at the Arizona Cardinals. The Seahawks are coming off of a monster win, and the Cardinals are coming off a last-second field goal loss. Both teams are 2-1, along with the Rams, who are also 2-1 in this same division. This division is wide open for anyone to take, and this Thursday night showdown is going to be very telling to see who gets a leg up in this early season. Let's start with the Seahawks. They crushed the Saints. Punt return touchdown, 21 points in the first quarter. Sam Darnold was 14 of 18, 218 yards and 2 touchdowns, 154.2 passer rating, one of the best games of Sam Darnold's career. Jackson Smith-Njigba, 5 receptions for 96 yards and a touchdown. He's proving to be an incredible asset to his team. And then Kenneth Walker had 2 rushing touchdowns. The whole offense was working on all cylinders, but it was against the Saints, not a very good team. I still don't know what to think about with Seattle. I think they're a borderline playoff team. Just goes to show to see if they get that bit higher, that bit lower. Who knows? And in many ways, the same can be said for the Arizona Cardinals. They barely lost out to the 49ers. Now, I know the 49ers are a very injured team. They're a lot like the Vikings and the Bengals, where their main quarterback is injured, and now it's like we need to use the roster we have to try and make the best of it, right? So they barely lost out to a 49ers team with a backup. Admittedly, a very competent backup in Mac Jones. He's one of these game manager guys that can work well in the proximity of like a good roster and a good coaching staff, which I do think San Francisco has. The Cardinals, they played all right. They lost to a last-second field goal, but more importantly, they lost James Conner, who is kind of under the radar, one of these players that you don't really think about that much unless you're a Cardinals fan. He's a very important asset to that team. He's a bell cow. He gets a lot of carries. He's a very important asset to that team, and losing him, I think, is a big loss for them. For that reason, I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks. I think that is going to be a huge punch in the gut for the Cardinals. I think that they've shown that they're a decent team, and they beat up on a lot of bad teams to get to that 2-1 showing, but I do think their record is going to come down to earth a little bit more, and it's going to start in Week 4 when the Seattle Seahawks beat them. The Seahawks are going to improve to 3-1, but again, I'm not too sure how serious they really are. They haven't really faced a lot of contenders either. I think their record is a bit inflated, so we'll wait and see what happens at that point as well. So I'm going with the Seahawks. So next up, we have the Minnesota Vikings at the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Vikings are coming off of a very impressive victory where they crushed the Cincinnati Bengals 48-10. In J.J. McCarthy's absence, Mr. Carson Wentz is their starter, a guy we haven't heard from in a long time, a guy who's had boundless amounts of talent but could just never get the job done. Everyone seemed to think that after his ACL injury in 2017, the problem was up here. But he played a great game for the Vikings. He was 14 of 20 for 173 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 129.8 passer rating. And then Jordan Mason had a fantastic game at 16 carries for 116 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. They had a pick 6 and a fumble recovery touchdown. Their defense scored 2 touchdowns, and it was an all-around great team win by the Minnesota Vikings. As for the Steelers, they beat the Patriots pretty convincingly, 21-14. Aaron Rodgers was 16 of 23 for 139 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception, a 96.1 passer rating. Solid game by the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers has now surpassed Brett Favre for all-time passing touchdowns, which is pretty cool. But honestly, I don't really know what to expect from the Steelers yet because they're a lot like the Seahawks where they've been playing a lot of average to below average teams, and they've beaten them. But I think the real test is going to be how they do against actual contending teams. So I haven't been that impressed with the Steelers. They are 2-1, and spoiler, actually, you know what? I don't know. This is going to be a very interesting showing because I think the Vikings and the Steelers are in a very similar situation for both teams. But the Steelers do have a very good defense, and they do have Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers has been playing very well. I think he's going to have a pretty standard average season. He's on pace to probably throw for around 30 touchdowns, which for an age 42 quarterback, that's pretty darn good. I mean, no one outside of Tom Brady has been as prolific in their age 41, age 42 season than Tom Brady. He's kind of the measuring stick. But this is probably still going to be a very impressive season for Aaron Rodgers. I don't know who I go with, though. This is a very big toss-up. It's probably one of the bigger toss-up games. It is a morning game. It's a game that's going to be in Ireland at 9:30 in the morning. The Vikings play back-to-back games overseas, which I think is kind of annoying, but I guess when you're the Vikings and you have that Nordic background, then the Europeans are going to like you a little bit more. This is going to be a really tough one, and I can see myself getting this prediction wrong, but I'm going to go with I was going to say I'm going with a home team, but they're both away. No. I am going to go with the Steelers because they have their starting quarterback, and I think the Steelers' defense is going to be good enough to frazzle Carson Wentz a little bit to the point that he's not going to play to the best of his abilities, and I think the Steelers will squeak by with the victory. So I am going to go with the Steelers, but that's going to be a very good game. If anyone is going to wake up early to watch that one, I would highly recommend it because it's going to be a good one. All right, everyone, it's our favorite time, Washington Commanders time, as the Washington Commanders will face off against the Atlanta Falcons. Now, these two teams had completely different games to each other. The Commanders dropped 41 points against the Las Vegas Raiders. They won 41-24 with their backup quarterback, Marcus Mariota, which, we'll go into that a little bit better after we finish reviewing. And the Atlanta Falcons laid an egg against the Carolina Panthers as they lost 30-0. Michael Penix threw 2 interceptions, a very sloppy game. He also threw a pick six, was one of those interceptions, to the point that Kirk Cousins actually came into the game. So that was very interesting as well. Going back to the Washington Commanders, this was a solid team win for the Washington Commanders. They were dancing on the sidelines. They were hyping up their fans. Terry McLaurin had a really great long catch that actually should have been a touchdown, but he got around 75 yards for the game. So Terry McLaurin had his best game of the season thus far. Marcus Mariota had a very good game manager game. 15 of 21, 207 yards, a touchdown, 118.6 passer rating. He did fumble though, but the Commanders' defense played very well. Our special teams did very well. We had a kick return touchdown, which was good. Deebo Samuel started the game with a really long kick return. On the topic of Deebo Samuel, he has done remarkably for us. I think that he's been a fantastic asset to our team and our offense. I knew that we were going to win this game, though. I just don't believe in the Raiders at all. They're one of these poverty franchises that no matter what they get, they are just going to be terrible. They've been terrible for the last 25 years, ever since they lost that Super Bowl in the 2002 season. And despite all their storied history, they haven't been able to recover since then. So that's just what they're going to be. So I'm not surprised that we crushed the Raiders. This is still going to be another big test for us. Again, it's at Atlanta. Atlanta's going to want to bounce back. I don't know how much of this is indicative of Michael Penix not being the guy. I think he just played a bad game. When you have basically a rookie quarterback, that's going to happen. However, if Michael Penix does have another bad game, maybe another bad one after this, then serious conversations need to be had about bringing back Kirk Cousins. They are in a very tough quarterback situation, but they have two very competent starters. But the problem is, when you have two very good starters like that, who do you go with? Right? Which one, as soon as one starts to not play well, when do you pull the trigger and put in the other guy? Which I think is what they're having problems with now. Ultimately, I am going to go with the Washington Commanders, and I think they are going to improve to 3-1. That's going to be much needed because the game after this is going to be against the Chargers, who I think are a top 5, maybe top 10 team in this league. So that's going to be our biggest test. So I am going to go with the Washington Commanders. Hopefully, Jane Daniels will be back. I think he will, though. And he'll be back. And, another good get-right game, another confidence-building game for when we go against the Chargers in week 5, because that's going to be a big one. If we can get to 4-1 and beat the Chargers while doing it, then I think that will solidify us as a legitimately good, like, top 5 team. We'll wait and see. The power rankings aren't here just yet. I'm going to give it a couple more weeks till I go over the power rankings at the end of the week. But Washington Commanders for this one. Next up, we have the New Orleans Saints at the Buffalo Bills. We're looking at probably the best team in the NFL against the worst team in the NFL. The Bills destroyed the Dolphins 31-21, and the Saints got thrashed by the Seahawks 44-13. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong with the Saints. They're 0-3, and I don't see them getting any better. I'm going to be pretty quick with this one. I think the Buffalo Bills are going to win. They had a good game against the Miami Dolphins. Josh Allen threw for 3 touchdowns. James Cook rushed for 100 yards and a touchdown. I think that the Bills are the best team in the NFL right now. In terms of, like, we know what we're getting from the Bills. It's like old money, shall we say, where it's like they've been successful the last 5 years, so they know how to handle success and they know how to face good teams. Like, the Chargers are good now, but I don't think the Chargers can come in and beat the Bills, you know what I mean? So I'd say overall, I think the Bills are the best team in the NFL, but it's the same thing we've been saying, like, with the Ravens too. The Ravens and Bills have had phenomenal regular seasons the last couple years, but they don't get it done in the playoffs. So right now, the Bills can be the best team in the league from now until the end of the regular season. It's what can they do in the postseason? It doesn't seem like the Chiefs are who they are anymore. It might be wide open for them. And I think that finally this may be the Buffalo Bills' year to make the Super Bowl. Win? I don't know. Possibly. It's going to be interesting, though. But I'm going with the Bills. They're going to beat the Saints. I don't think anyone in this world thinks that the Saints are going to win. So I'm going with the Bills. Following that, we have the Cleveland Browns at the Detroit Lions. The Lions managed to defeat the Ravens on the road on Monday night. Very impressive win there by the Lions. And the Browns defeated the Green Bay Packers. How about that? Very interesting showing there. They won 13-10, and they won on a last-second field goal. If they were going to beat the Packers, making it a low-scoring game was the way that they were going to do it. Joe Flacco didn't have a good game again. He was 21 of 36, 142 yards, and an interception, a 55.6 passer rating. Joe Flacco is not a good quarterback. I know we all love him, but he's old, he's washed, he's 40 years old. The only reason they're playing him is because he's a veteran force, but he's not very good. The Browns defense, on the other hand, did show up. Myles Garrett made his presence known, did very well, and they managed to win and upset the Green Bay Packers. Are they going to upset the Lions? No. I think that there were a lot of question marks going in with the Detroit Lions this year because they lost to the Commanders in the divisional round last year, and then they lost to the Packers week 1. Are they still going to be the same strong, dominant team that they've always been? Beating the Ravens in primetime shows me that they are still a top 5 team in this league, and they're still a force to be reckoned with, and they're still Super Bowl contenders. In a perfect world, we get Bills versus Lions in the Super Bowl, and everyone is happy. That's probably not going to happen, but that's what I'm rooting for. Jared Goff had a pretty good game. He was 20 of 28 for 222 yards, a touchdown, and a 103.6 passer rating. The real story were the running backs. Both David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs rushed for 2 rushing touchdowns, which was impressive. David Montgomery had a 72-yard rushing touchdown, which was very impressive. I was playing David Montgomery. I was playing against him in fantasy, so that pretty much destroyed my hopes. But well done for the Lions. They're going to beat the Browns. Again, an impressive showing. They showed that they are still a premier team in this league. And yes, I am going with the Lions on this one. They are going to win. So next up, we have the Carolina Panthers at the New England Patriots. 2 kind of bottom dwellers in the NFL, but at least one of them came away with a very impressive victory. They won 30-0. It's a kind of game the Panthers have been waiting for a very long time. Ironically, it was not because of Bryce Young. He was 16 of 24 for 121 yards and a 78.6 passer rating. They got a lot of their scores based on short fields. They had the pick 6. They had a lot of field goals. I mean, the Panthers won, but yet it still wasn't because of Bryce Young. And I honestly think that that's very, very concerning that Bryce Young was not a part of the victory this week. All signs are pointing to Bryce Young being a bust, unfortunately, because when you win 30-0 and you still don't even put up a touchdown, like, that's concerning stuff. So I don't know if they stick with him or if they finally cut their losses and go somewhere else. So we'll wait and see. As for the Patriots, they lost a pretty close game to the Steelers. Drake May was 28 of 37 for 268 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception, and a 102.1 passer rating. So again, they're having Drake May throw the ball 37 times. He is slinging the rock, and they're not afraid for him to do it. He was sacked 5 times, though, which is not good on the offensive line. I'm going to go with the Patriots on this one. The fact that Bryce Young still didn't do well in victory is concerning to me. And if they're not thrown a victory like the Falcons threw to them, I don't think that they're going to win a lot of football games. So I think this is going to be a good win for the Patriots. They're going to win, and they're going to improve to, what is it now, 2-2, I believe? 2-2. Not bad for the Patriots. I'm going with them. So next up, we have the Los Angeles Chargers at the New York Giants. Now, you want to talk about two franchises that are going in completely opposite directions. Welcome to this game. The Chargers are looking like a top 5 team. Justin Herbert has been playing out of his mind, borderline MVP. Jim Harbaugh has their defense humming on all cylinders. Najee Harris did tear his Achilles in a very heartbreaking play, yet it was still incredible because as Najee Harris is going down from his injury, Justin Herbert jumps over him, throws the ball, gets a first down. Absolutely incredible work by Justin Herbert there, who was 28 of 47 for 300 yards, a touchdown, a pick, a 76.6 passer rating. So based on the passer rating, he didn't have a great game, but I mean, you watch him and you look at the eye test, Justin Herbert's an incredible quarterback, and Jim Harbaugh is in heaven coaching him, basically. A very close showing there. The Chargers played a very tough Broncos team, and they came up victorious. Going against a very tough team like that, fighting till the end, and winning on a field goal like that is a very impressive win by the Chargers. And they are not going to have to do this kind of stuff against the Giants, who, I mean, I'll have a little more to say about it when I go over the Chiefs. But basically, that was a terrible game, the Chiefs and Giants. Not much happened, but the Chiefs' offense is broken. It doesn't work, and it's not good. And the Giants still couldn't capitalize, and Russell Wilson still threw 2 interceptions. The Giants just aren't good, and like jobs are going to be people are going to be fired on this Giants team because they do not look good. Like the fact that the Cowboys gave up so many points, like, is more indicative, I think, of the Cowboys defense being really bad, because that game against the Chiefs looked like the Washington Commanders against the Giants, where the Giants just could not get their offense to work at all. And it's just much of the same in this game against the Chiefs. They looked bad. They scored 3 field goals. They didn't get in the end zone. They looked terrible. The Chargers are going to win this game. If they lose, that's going to be a very, very embarrassing loss for them. I am going to go with the Chargers. They're going to improve to 4-0, and the Giants are going to fall to 0-4. Not so good, but I think Mike Vrabel needs to go, and I think the Giants need a franchise reset if they're going to have Jackson Dart be their starting quarterback. So next up, this is more like it. We have the Philadelphia Eagles at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is going to be a very similar challenge to the Eagles like the Rams were. The Eagles barely scraped by the Rams in a game they frankly should have lost. I'm so upset that they did win because I predicted that the Rams were going to beat the Eagles. And if a freaking field goal doesn't get blocked and the Rams make that field goal, they win, and I'm a football genius, and I predict my upset correctly. But it wasn't in the cards, and the Eagles won ugly, and they managed to win. They were down 24-7, I think, and then they had a second half resurgence, which allowed them to get back into the game. Jalen Hurts was 21 of 32 for 226 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, all of which were in the second half, and 117.4 passer rating. A.J. Brown, 6 receptions for 109 yards and a touchdown, and then Devonta Smith, 8 receptions for 60 yards and a touchdown. What I have realized from Jalen Hurts is the Jalen Hurts hate I do not think is warranted at all, because when he needs to win, he finds ways to do it. Threw 3 touchdowns in the second half and found a way to win, and obviously special teams came up big and blocked a field goal. However, the Eagles are starting to win ugly, and this is starting to remind me of the 2023 Eagles that were winning games by the skin of their teeth, and then the ass fell out from under them in the second half of the season. It's starting to look like that now. They're starting to win ugly, kind of like the Chiefs did last year. So they're definitely not the juggernaut force that they were. Matt Ryan was interviewed about the Rams-Eagles game, and he said, if I'm on the Rams, we now know that we are just as good, if not better, than the Super Bowl champions. And I think that is a very accurate synopsis of that game, is that the Rams are just as good, if not better, than the Eagles, but the Eagles on that given game, more luck bounced their way and they were able to win. I think Tampa Bay is a very similar team to the Rams. They have a franchise quarterback. They have a good team culture. They have good skill position playmakers. They have a good defense. And I think that they are going to be a force to be reckoned with against Philadelphia. I think they're going to be very good. It's going to be at home. You know what? F it. I'm going for the upset again. I'm going to go for the home team, Tampa Bay. I think that Baker is going to sling the rock. I think Tampa is a very similar team to the Rams in terms of their skill level. And I think if the Rams weren't able to upset Philly, I think Tampa Bay will. It's going to be a very good game, but the Buccaneers they've showed multiple times that they can get that last-minute game-winning drive to win the football game. They did that when the Jets blocked their own field goal and ran it back for a touchdown. The Buccaneers went right down the field on their next possession, scored a field goal, and won. That is very, very good play calling, very good game management by Baker, and that's something that a winning football team does, that after a blocked field goal ties up the game, they get the ball back, and they went right down the field and won, right? So I think Tampa Bay is going to win. It's going to be a very close game, but hopefully my upset pick actually pays dividends this time around. So we'll wait and see. So this next game, we have the Tennessee Titans at the Houston Texans. Two winless teams, one we expected to be winless, and the other is facing some serious adversity. The Houston Texans were looked to be a playoff caliber team this year after what they did the last 2 years with C.J. Stroud, DeMeco Ryans, and their new regime. Since then, that has not been happening. I thought that they were going to run over the Jacksonville Jaguars and just win. They lost 17-10, but that is not really a showing of how bad it actually was. Outside of a deep pass to a wide-open Nico Collins, the Texans' offense looked terrible. They had 4 3-and-outs in the first half, 5 all game. They missed a field goal. And then when the offense did start going in the second half, C.J. Stroud threw 2 interceptions and there was a fumble. So they had 3 turnovers. Texans offense is a serious concern. And they lost to a team that they really should have beaten. And now there's a lot of serious concern with this team. If they lose to the Titans, then we're looking at a catastrophic collapse. C.J. Stroud was 25 of 38 for 204 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, and a 66.1 passer rating. I don't know what's going on with C.J. Stroud or where this fall off has come with him. It wasn't because of the offensive line because he was only sacked 2 times. I don't know what's going on. I think what I need to do is sit down and actually watch a Houston Texans game to kind of get an idea of it. You see a lot of the highlights on Red Zone, but I didn't actually get a chance to watch the game play by play. But I think I'm going to have to do that with one of these because what the heck is going on with them? I looked at the statistics, and the only thing they had to show for themselves on offense was that deep pass to Nico Collins. And thank God they got that, because if they didn't, they would only have 3 points, and they'd have 5 3-and-outs the entire game. Their offense would have been pretty much non-existent. As for the Titans, they got thrashed by, as it turns out, a very good Colts team. Cam Ward was 23 of 38, 219 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and a 74.3 passer rating. He got sacked 4 times. Again, not a great game by Cam Ward, but again, the Titans team as a whole isn't very good. So I think Cam Ward has talent, and I think he is a good quarterback. But, I mean, they went against a very good team. Now, if the Texans lose to the Titans here, then you're looking at a fall off of epic proportions that we haven't seen in a very long time. That's going to be very, very bad, right? That is going to be terrible. So with that being said, I am going to go with the Texans, though. I do think they are going to win. I think they are going to get over the hump, and I think they're going to win. But if they lose, that's a serious, serious problem. Next up, we have the Indianapolis Colts at the Los Angeles Rams. This is going to be a very good powerhouse showing. We have a established good team in the Los Angeles Rams and the new hotshot starring Indiana Jones and the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts ran over the Tennessee Titans, but I kind of expected that to happen. The real star of the show here was Jonathan Taylor. Daniel Jones, first off, had a very good game manager game. He was 18 of 25 for 228 yards and a touchdown for 113.4 passer rating. So pretty game manager-esque numbers there by Daniel Jones, but he got the job done. Jonathan Taylor, 17 carries, 102 yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. He's having a phenomenal season. And I think he's making his case to be maybe a first-team All-Pro running back, maybe the best running back so far this season, I would say. Yeah, probably Jonathan Taylor's the best this season. But the Colts look good, man. They are crushing teams, taking names. But this is going to be their biggest challenge. The Rams are 2-1, and they should be 3-0. They're a blocked field goal away from beating the defending Super Bowl champions. This is going to be the real test for the Colts to see how for real they really are, because they're going up against a legitimately top 5 good team in the Los Angeles Rams. Davante Adams has turned back the clock and has done insanely well, having Davante Adams and Puka Nacua and Matt Stafford and Kyron Williams. They have so many skill position players on offense, and their defense is incredibly well coached. They have stars on that team as well. They're just a well-run, strong team. Matt Stafford is putting together a very, very strong campaign. They were very concerned about his back problems. The back problems are not showing anything right now. 37-year-old Matt Stafford can still sling it and still play at a very high level, which is very impressive. I am going to go with the home team, and I'm going to go with the Rams just because they are the more established team. I think that it's going to be a very good game. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think the Colts are just going to barely miss out, and it's going to be one of these things of like the Colts are a good team. Maybe they'll be a great team by the end of the year, but this is a very good measuring stick game for them just to see how good they are. I'm going with the Los Angeles Rams, though. So next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars at the San Francisco 49ers. Believe it or not, the Jaguars are 2-1, which is very surprising, and the San Francisco 49ers are 3-0. So they managed to make it 3-0 despite the injuries to Brock Purdy. They won against the Arizona Cardinals on a last-second field goal. Another average game by Mac Jones. He was 27 of 41 for 284 yards, a touchdown, a pick, and an 83.8 passer rating. You know, decent numbers there. As for the Jaguars, they beat the Texans 17-10, like I said. Kind of similarly to Bryce Young, though. Trevor Lawrence, again, not a good game. 20 of 40. 222 yards, an interception, a 56.5 passer rating. Again, Trevor Lawrence is not looking good. He has not had a good season at all. As you can see right here, this is what he's been doing so far this season in terms of yards, touchdowns, and interceptions. So he has not been having a good year at all. Somehow the Jaguars are still 2-1. I think that's because they've had a very soft schedule, and I think the 49ers are going to do it to them, and I think that they are going to win. I think the 49ers are getting very lucky facing a lot of easy opponents, and they're kind of beefing up their record a little bit, especially in that division where every single team is 2-1. It's a very competitive division, and I think San Fran is going to win this to kind of stay in front, stay ahead of them. I just don't see Jacksonville pulling off the upset because San Francisco is such a well-run, well-coached team. I think their Super Bowl window has slowly escaped them, but they're still well-coached and well-run, so I do think San Francisco is going to win. This next 4 o'clock game is going to be a real doozy. One of these teams is going to be 1-3. We have the Baltimore Ravens at the Kansas City Chiefs. So the Ravens lost out to the Lions. A costly Derrick Henry fumble cost them that. And then the Chiefs beat the Giants 22-9. They did crush them, but we'll have stuff to say about the Chiefs in a little bit. As for the Ravens, Lamar Jackson is slowly putting together yet another MVP caliber season. 21 of 27, 288 yards, 3 touchdowns, a 148.1 passer rating. He was sacked 7 times though. A great offensive showing by the Ravens, but once again, defense is what you need. And if you give up 38 points, you need to do better on defense. And I think that's the big thing with the Ravens is their defense is giving up too many points, let alone the Derrick Henry fumble. They were down by a lot by that point anyway. And I think the big issue with the Ravens is their defense is giving up too many points. The Lions and Bills are 2 very good offenses that they had to deal with. Those are the 2 teams that they lost against. So, I mean, they're playing against some of the best teams in the league. I don't think that the 49ers at 3-0 are better than the Ravens, right? But you do run the risk of digging yourself into a huge hole if you start 1-3, right? And that's the big problem that both these teams are facing. I think the Ravens are going to right the ship. They faced two, but like the Bills and Lions could face each other in the Super Bowl for all we know, right? So like, I'm not going to be too hard on the Ravens. I will, however, be hard on the Chiefs. To put it simply, with the Kansas City Chiefs, their offense is broken. If I could use one word to describe it, it's broken. There's no chemistry. Everyone is offbeat. They just look broken. Mahomes is still making phenomenal plays to keep drives alive. Like, he scrambled in the pocket, dilly-dallied around here and made a throw. He recovered that one fumble that he caused, which was very impressive. So, like, Mahomes is still a great quarterback. He has not fallen off. So that begs the question, what is going on? You have Juju Smith-Schuster and Hollywood Brown as your two wide receivers, and I guess they just suck. They're not good enough. Travis Kelce seems to be washed. He seems to have lost his step. He does not look like the same player that he was 2 years ago. Like, the whole Chiefs offense has just fallen off. And a lot of their skill position players just aren't good. I will say, Tyquan Thornton has done very well. He dropped the one long ball, and then he caught the other one, which is good. I would say watch out for Tyquan Thornton on your fantasy teams because he's getting fed more and more each week with Mahomes as like a deep threat. So from that perspective, maybe they'll get their offense going a little bit with Tyquan Thornton. Maybe when Rashee Rice comes back, they can get some help there. But the Chiefs' offense looks broken. That's the best way I can describe it. For that reason, I'm going to go with the Ravens because I think the Ravens defense has not looked good, but I think the Chiefs' offense has looked worse to the point that I think the Ravens will be able to outscore the Chiefs, and I think that the Ravens will win. The Chiefs could very easily right the ship, but they got to do something about their offense. I don't know if an offensive coordinator needs to be fired, if something needs to happen, but Hollywood Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster are not wide receiver 1 and 2 material. They suck. And Tyquan Thornton has been doing marginally better, but like, it just doesn't look good for them, basically. I'm going with the Ravens. The Chiefs are going to fall to 1-3. So next up, we have the Chicago Bears at the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders got crushed, and the Bears crushed. Now, how much of the Bears and Caleb Williams throwing 4 touchdowns, how much of that has to do with the Cowboys' defense being terrible or the Bears finally figuring out their offense? I don't think we're going to get a lot of answers to that because the Raiders really put up a stinker against us. We put up 41 points with a backup quarterback. So I do think the Bears are going to win. Spoiler, I think they're going to have another good offensive showing, but it's only because they're going to be going against a terrible defense. Caleb Williams was 19 of 28 for 298 yards and 4 touchdowns, 142.6 passer rating. So maybe Caleb Williams is, hitting his stride as a starting quarterback in this league, like that I knew he was going to. Maybe this is the first time a Bears quarterback is going to throw for 30 touchdowns and 4,000 yards. Wouldn't that be crazy? But yeah, I'm going with the Bears on this one. Not much to say about the Raiders. I watched them play. They looked flat and they looked uninspired. What else is new with the Raiders? That's what they've always been, flat and uninspired. And I think we're just going to get that again. So I'm going with the Bears. They're going to beat the Raiders. So now for our Sunday night game, the Green Bay Packers at the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys have given up 30 points the last 2 games. Their offense has looked decent, but not against the Bears. They got crushed. They only scored 14 points. Dak Prescott was 31 of 40 for 251 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and an 80.3 passer rating. The Cowboys are approaching tankdom right now. They do not look good at all. Their defense looks terrible. If only they had some incredibly talented middle linebacker that could rush the passer for them, because whatever's going on, it's not working for them. And Jerry Jones has once again sabotaged his team, and the Cowboys do not look like they're going to do much of anything this year. As for the Packers, they got upset. I don't know if this was just a flat game on their part, but we were crowning the Packers as Super Bowl contenders the first 2 weeks, and then they fell flat against a terrible Browns team. Jordan Love was 18 of 25, 183 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and an 89.2 passer rating. He was sacked 5 times. I don't know how much of it is just Jordan Love played a bad game and he'll do better or what, but they fell flat. But I tell you what, they're not going to fall flat against the Dallas Cowboys. This is going to be a good get-right game for the Packers. even though it's on the road. They're going to come in, and the Cowboys are not going to offer much resistance, I don't think. The Packers are too good of a team, and this is going to be a get-right game, just like the Raiders were a get-right game again for us when we lost to the Packers on Thursday. So that's what I'm looking at this game to be. I think that the Packers are going to win. They're going to crush. It's not going to be much of a contest. Next up, we have the New York Jets at the Miami Dolphins. I really feel bad for the Jets because, yes, they're 0-3, but they have played their hearts out the last couple games, and they've barely missed out. Like, they blocked that field goal by the Buccaneers and ran it back for a score. They did let the Buccaneers go right back down the field, but, like, they're playing with some heart, and I think Aaron Glenn has them in the right direction. It's a shame that Justin Fields got hurt, but Tyrod Taylor did his typical journeyman backup thing. 26 of 36, 197 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception for a 92 passer rating. I mean, that's solid backup numbers. We all know Tyrod Taylor's a good quarterback, and they barely lost out to the Buccaneers. But they're going to beat the Dolphins, I think. I think this is going to be a good example of, like, hey, the Jets have played a lot of bad teams, but they're fine. A lot of good teams, rather. They're finally going to play a bad team that they can outclass and beat. It's going to be a divisional team like the Miami Dolphins. So I'm going to go with the Jets on this one. Before I move on to the next game, though, I do want to talk about the Dolphins a little bit because there's a lot of teams that have come out completely flat this year, and they are just like really, really in big trouble. So we have the Dolphins, we have the Cowboys, we have the Bengals. I'd say are 3 teams that are really just coming out flatter than anything and are in major, major straits, and the Giants, that their seasons appear to be over already. And I think with the Dolphins, it's not the head coach. I think it's Tua. I think that Tua's spark. I remember I saw something where they said Tua's magic is gone. Tua has shown that he can be a good quarterback, but I think he's got something in his head right now. He's not playing like he used to, and I think that we've seen Tua's ceiling. I think Mike McDaniel has gotten everything out of Tua that you could get. He's physically limited, does not have a strong arm, and like I think he's good at reading his progressions and doing quarterback stuff. But I think we've hit his ceiling, and I don't think we're going to see anything more from him. And for that reason, I don't think that the Dolphins can survive with Tua much longer. I think they may need to bench him and just start working on next season. It's like the 2023 Washington Commanders, where our season was over by week 4 and we focused on next season there and traded Chase Young and Montez Sweat, and it allowed us to start our rebuild early. I think that's kind of what the Dolphins need to do right now. The Jets are going to win. They're going to get a much-needed victory, and I think the Dolphins really need to consider benching Tua and looking into 2026 because they're not going anywhere this year. They're not. They're just not. So, last but not least, we have the Cincinnati Bengals at the Denver Broncos. This is the Monday night doubleheader. Both teams are coming off of losses. The Broncos are coming off of a bit more of a respectable loss. The Broncos could very easily be 3-0 with some of these close losses against the Colts and the Chargers. Bo Nix was 14 of 25 for 153 yards and a touchdown and 87.6 passer rating. Bo Nix did not have a very good game. He overthrew a lot of people, not very accurate. I think that is just going to happen when you're a young quarterback. I think he's shown a lot of talent already, though, but it just remains to be seen. Is this his ceiling? Can he get better? That's a lot of the questions that I'm asking in terms of Bo Nix. As for the Bengals, they are not looking good. Jake Browning is not their guy, it appears. And they lost 48-10. And I think the Bengals need to really push the emergency button. They are 2-1, so they have a plus 500 record. But again, are the Bengals better than the Jets? I don't think so. The Bengals aren't better than the Ravens or Chiefs. They're very fortunate that they got those first 2 wins to kick things off because the Bengals are in serious, serious problems. And if they want to save their season, maybe you take a flyer on Kirk Cousins or somebody to save your season, because the Bengals season is in dire straits right now. They're not going to beat the Broncos. I think the Broncos are going to win. And now we look at maybe the Bengals losing out on another potential season. We are now 3 years removed from the Bengals' Super Bowl and conference championship run in 21 and 22. That has been their measuring stick. Ever since then, people have expected them to make it that far. They're now 3 years removed from that, and their third year of falling short and being disappointing. Now, a lot of that is because Joe Burrow's injured, but fundamentally, do they need to change their team because this kind of stuff is happening? I don't really know, but I'm going to go with the Broncos on this one. They're going to beat the Bengals. The Bengals need to figure out something to save their season because they are looking like they're going to go on a nosedive, much like the Saints, much like the Dolphins, much like the Giants, and that's a place you don't want to be. So the narratives for a lot of these teams, a lot of things are starting to fall into place. We have a lot of great games this week. The Chiefs-Ravens game is going to be very, very good. The Buccaneers-Eagles game is going to be very, very good. I'm just hoping my Washington Commanders can make it 3-1, stay competitive in the NFC, and stay controlling their own destiny. And, of course, I hope Jane Daniels plays. That's been week 4, guys. I'll see y'all next week. Take care.